Welcome back to the Weekly News Roundup. These are recorded live Fridays, 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, only for the next 2 weeks. We will be moving this show to Thursday at 8 p.m. We hope that will allow more people to jump in. There's a lot of really great shows going on Fridays, and so we're going to keep the time the same. It's just at Thursdays instead of Fridays. So we're going to see how that works, and if it merits a change back, we'll do that, and then maybe we'll use the Friday or Saturday as auxiliary days if we have to push it later or something like that. We also will not be doing these edited down versions, but the versions that go live as of Friday morning will have timestamps on them, so you can go right in, and we'll also be going right to the content to start. Well, intro matter, then content, but we're not going to read the comments at the start anymore. We're going to read comments in the middle and at the end. So you can go ahead and catch that show as of May 1st on Thursday, 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And we do have a normal business news segment. We have privacy, security, AI, business, and, of course, SillyVille. And let's go ahead and get right on in with the crazy nonsense. And the first thing we have in privacy, Apple has a plan for improving Apple Intelligence, but it needs your data. Yeah, I mean, Apple is it's built this model on privacy, but it still kind of wants your data sometimes. Now, there are good implementations to this. So what Apple has been doing, and probably why Apple Intelligence is pretty much the shall we say, moronic stepchild of the AI family, is because they've actually been to honor privacy. Honestly, this is actually a good point for Apple. To honor privacy, they've been training their AI on fictional data, which they are alleging should work well, but it also is what led to maybe a lot of the nonsense. In reality, maybe the AI was a little bit less cynical because, as I've said in many other places, AI is trained on publicly available data, but human beings are drawn to bad news, and that's why bad news is all over everything. I mean, they tell us when the stock market dives 10,000 points. I didn't see any news articles about the stock market recovered almost everything it lost a couple of weeks ago. Not everything. I guess it's got to be at least halfway up, but that's the thing. We don't cover bad news or good news. We just cover bad news. But what they're doing now is this is the other thing Apple's doing good. It is all opt-in. And if you have gone down to the bottom and you have opted out of data analytics, you are immediately excluded. And so they have actually done this in the best way they possibly could. But for those that really love the AI and don't mind their data being trained on it because you have nothing to hide, of course, even that jog past the bank on Friday mornings, then what you can actually do is you can opt in, and then it's still sending. The way it's anonymizing data is it's mixing in the data profiles with a lot of white noise. So at any time, at least half of the data coming in is still going to be made up, fabricated, or static data, which makes it very hard to de-anonymize the data. Now, is it still possible? Yes. That is the warning of it, but being opt-in, this is actually a good thing. So I have to praise Apple here for the way they are doing this data collection. My guess is, though, is not enough people are going to opt into it, and they will probably change their tune, but we'll see what happens. For now, Apple is asking for your help and your data to train its AI, but it's asking and saying, please opt into our service, which is way better than most people get into. Now we move over to Florida Man. Florida Man's a moron. The Florida politicians over there are now drafting a law to mandate encryption backdoors for social media accounts. This is what UK is trying to do that caused Apple to pull out. This is what the FBI has to wiretap people that allowed China to hang out in there and get into every one of the telecoms. That was the recent telecom breach not long ago. Anytime there's backdoors into encrypted software, the criminals get into there a whole lot more, and then you have to worry about the rogue police officers too, because, there are a lot of police officers that aren't doing their job well. How many police officers in this country have been arrested for utilizing police resources to stalk their ex-girlfriends? More than you can count. And that's the type of stuff we have to worry about. Of course, this is all built to save the children, like requiring your PH websites and other related content to do age verification. Of course, two things. Number one, a VPN is a thing. Number two, if you block the kids from accessing pH as easily, you will possibly send them into the darker, more extreme places of the internet because their heart is going there. It's a very bad thing, but their heart is going there. You're not going to stop it with a law. The same way that, as Florida has recently learned, when you have that little sign up there that says this is a gun-free zone, it doesn't actually enforce much, does it? So we have to think about these things, that a simple law is not going to stop the sin of the human heart. And that's the problem with this bill. It basically says, this is SB 868, and the bill, if passed, would require social media platforms to provide a mechanism to decrypt end-to-end encryption when law enforcement obtains a subpoena. All right, so obviously, number one, save and protect the children. This is what's behind the age verification. You see, kids shouldn't be on social media. Should we do an age verification? No. Why? Because everybody creating a social media account, verify your age, show us your ID. Now you just have a way to force everybody to show your IDs. And of course, in this crazy world where criminals would love nothing more to get your ID so that they can use your ID for the know your customer laws when they're creating their fraudulent accounts. And then they can sleep easy knowing that if they make a mistake somewhere and the trail goes back to Randall Stevenson, they kick in your door, not theirs, because they're operating on a stolen ID. And then, of course, you can't possibly get around the fact that you will now have thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars to try and prove yourself innocent because a criminal stole your data because some social media company didn't know how to do security, didn't want to pay for it, and so they hired some third-party janky company who was shifting some of those out on the side and selling them on the side because they were being paid peanuts anyway. That's the problem with that law. Now, this law, of course, the end-to-end, the backdoor into the end-to-end encryption allows anybody to snoop in there. The hackers are going to get in that back door. Police officers are going to get in that back door. Now, there is another thing, is it would require a parent to be able to see what's in the child's account. Well, we were talking about this in the supporters hangout off air last night, and one of the people in there said that, Facebook has a general pretty good idea if you're overage or underage. Okay. And so they kind of know who's a child already. We don't need to do the age verifications, but at the same time, okay, the bill here requiring this backdoor encryption, it's allowing a backdoor into everything online. YouTube is encrypted. You can leave comments. Therefore, the police need the back door. Facebook and WhatsApp and Instagram and Signal, everything. This is the most brain dead bill ever. And I'm sorry, Florida, you do some really good things, but this is the problem with the entire Republican Party. You guys are retardedly brain dead when it comes to technology. Would you get your heads out of your rear ends and look around the world a little bit? I mean, come on, folks. Jeez. So this is a really stupid thing. Of course, it comes out of Florida because, Florida man, he's been battling too many gators on LSD, apparently. Don't feed hallucinogens to the alligators if you guys have not seen that meme. All right. And on to our chief story. LG TVs. I am never buying an LG TV. Should we have a campaign, never buy LG TVs here on out? LG TVs are working on an integrated ad system that will personalize you with emotions. Ooh, this is the new LG's WebOS. They are partnering in with a new company called Zenapps. And now they have a typo here. They say here in Ars Technica, this is software as a service. This is not true. Zenapps bills itself as a science as a service. So it's still SaaS, but it's science as a service. And what they're trying to do is they work on emotional powered, and like they say emotional intelligence, which is a different thing from feeding on your emotions. They're kind of using the word emotional intelligence, but they're meaning feeding on your emotions. How does this work? Well, this is an article from last year from Adweek, and they raised $8 million to expand an AI large emotional model, LEM, as a SaaS platform here. And so when they're looking at what they're doing down here, let me see if they can Fine. See, they're not defining SaaS here, but I went through all of their news releases. There are only like 8 of them, and they're very clearly saying on their website it's science as a service model. And so they're a first mover in the SaaS category. We expect to become a major part of the marketing technology using AI to empower marketing with emotional intelligence. Now, emotional intelligence has a different definition. There's an excellent book on the subject called Emotional Intelligence by Daniel Goleman. I'd recommend you read it. It's a very good book. And it basically talks about the emotional cues. How strong is somebody emotionally? And that really is, as Daniel Goleman argues in his book, that really is the biggest marker of success, because intelligence, we can be idiot savants and be brilliantly intelligent, but the people who can emotionally read the room and emotionally move through can strategically work inside the various elements. He argues in the book that the reason a kid is the reason a kid is struggling, he's not stupid because he doesn't know 2 + 2 is 5. He just doesn't care because his life is falling apart and his emotional IQ is completely severed over the fact that his life is falling apart. But if you solve a lot of the problems around him, if he knows he has a safe bed and he has resources, he's going to eat 3 meals every day, then you place him in a better place where he's more comfortable. Deals a lot with Maslow's laws of self-actualization is what it had to do with. Now that's emotional intelligence, which is not what this company is doing. What this company is doing is they're using emotions to drive responses. In other words, the higher your emotional intelligence, the less impact this is going to have on you. But look around at our world. We are not an emotionally intelligent world. We are pretty much a bunch of emotional babies running around. It's very evidenced. But what they say down here is they interpret insights from 150 million consumers across 3.5 billion data points in real time. So their first product, Zen Impact Optimization Studio, leverages Zen Vision to deliver more effective marketing across channels in an easy-to-use platform, delivering a lift of 40 to 400% over standard behavioral and demographic-powered experiences. So where most advertising targets demographics, they're saying if we can understand who you are on a psychological basis, we can target you. We can target your psychic, not your demographics. So we're not targeting you because you are black or white or Christian or Muslim. We are targeting you instead based on the interests and the desires that you have within yourself. Well, warning from James chapter 1, sin is caused by the desires of your heart. Okay. They are literally doing this to breed discontent inside of you as a means to drive marketing. They're not finding your interests, they're finding what emotionally drives you, what is your emotional psyche happens to be. And so what they're doing here in this system is now Zen Apps is working with LG televisions to embed this advertising technique, and then the LG sensors and things will figure out who is watching that. It could be the apps on your phone. Actually, I meant to mention that with that news article there. Where are they getting the 150 million consumers and 3.5 billion data points in real time? That is all coming from phone apps. All of those free phone apps. Get the free phone apps. The free phone apps will save you money. I was coming down through Flagstaff, Arizona a couple months ago, and I pull into the gas station, low in gas, getting there to fill up that giant Ram ProMaster gas guzzler up there, and this guy runs in kind of excited. Oh, don't put your card in yet. You can scan this app. Look at this app. This is so awesome. Get this. You can save 10 cents. I'm like, dude, the cost is high. What do you mean it's free? And I explained to him the Gas Buddy and the, I forget the company's name off of that Allstate had founded, the marketing company that Allstate had founded. All of these Life 360, that application that is, a family thing that you can monitor your children. All of those free, amazing apps. All of those apps are collecting tons of data points. They're listening to your microphone. See, it wasn't Facebook listening to your microphone all the time. It was the advertising networks that Facebook was embedded into their app. Those are listening, and those are what's responding to Facebook's ad calls, and that's why the things you talk about show up. It's not Facebook that is listening in. It's the advertisement companies which are embedded into your cell phones. So anytime you're installing these free phone apps, the free is because you are being caught up inside of these guys. Now, the LG televisions, they have cameras and microphones and other cues that they can determine the people listening in the room, and they will display ads through this system on the emotional level of those watching the television. This is downright evil and creepy, folks. This is nutsoids. Like, this should be... So, did you consent to be part of a psychological experiment? I know I didn't. Why are all of these guys not in jail for doing psychological experiments on the people simply watching television? I would really like it if some politicians up there might start inquiring about that. I mean, of course, the current administration, it might not turn into anything. They're like, hey, they're making money. Awesome. You know, like, hey, there's some money that shouldn't be made, folks. Anyway, with all this information, ZenVision will group LG TV viewers into highly specified market segments: goal-driven achievers, social connectors, emotionally engaged planners. The LG spokesperson told Stream Inside TV. The ZenVision also has other ones for digital adopters, wellness seekers, positive impact environment, and money matters. Company is paying to advertise on LG TVs, can then target viewers based on ZenVision specific emotionally intelligent ads instead of your demographic ads. So, and then the rest of the article, they get into a little bit about the differences between the emotional psyche ads versus the demographic type ads. This stuff is insane, folks. This is crazy. This stuff should be completely banned. This whole company, like whoever is in charge of this, whoever gave that company money, round them all up and throw them in a jail somewhere. Send them to El Salvador or something. I don't know, you know. I might rather have the MS-13 gang members roaming the streets, to be honest. I don't know. All right. We're having too much fun. We must get along before I get too insane. Let's switch on over to security news next. All right, we have an update to the old Hello Pervert email. Leave us a like in the video if you've ever gotten the Hello Pervert email. Remember this one? It's like, hello pervert, I hacked into your computer and I saw what you did on your computer. Now, of course, the reason this works is because the estimates are up to, 40 to 60% of people are engaging in they're engaging in sausage massage, okay? And so they're just basically sending these out to every emails that they can possibly find, and hoping that people are dumb enough to enter in their Bitcoin and be like, oh, I got to give money so this guy doesn't tell all my family that the sausages are interesting. All right, so this is an update to the Hello Pervert email. They have a brand new one, so you might see this one going around. Now they are spoofing your own email address. So now they have adjusted their thing to say, as you may notice, I sent you an email from your email account. This means I have full access to your account. I've been watching you for a few months. The thing is, you got infected with NJ Rat through an adult site you visited. Oh boy. Did you verify your ID on that adult site? The Florida guys would like to know. They have your identity too, see, because Florida required it. Anyway, now they're asking for $1,200 in US in Bitcoin. I did check the wallet last night, haven't checked it today, but this particular Bitcoin wallet last night, very sad. There's no money in it. The scammers did not get anything, but anyway, he's giving you 48 hours to pay, and so just an update on that one, guys. If you ever get that Hello Pervert email, no, they have not actually hacked into your system, but stop watching that bad stuff that makes you think. You see, if you're not a person who's ever watched that bad stuff on the internet, you know it's fake. But if you're part of the 60% or so who have, now you have to wonder, which site did I go to that I possibly got hacked on? You see, stop going to the sites, then you'll know for a fact when you get this, it's not true. So there you go, folks. And, I have to do cookie settings on this one. I forget. We're going to confirm my choices. Info Security Magazine. This is a interesting one. So AI hallucinations have created an entire new way of supply chain vulnerabilities. They are calling it Slopsquatting. Okay, slop squatting, folks. This is a great one. All right, so in slop squatting, the AI creates a hallucination. And then this is when you're using AI to do code. The AI hallucination will create a code that goes in, and it's going to basically reference a library that doesn't exist. So it will call some supply chain application, some Python script that doesn't actually exist. But then the malware will get in there, and basically the AI system looks for it, and then there's some record that's looking for it. So the malicious actor can go in and build a particular library of that exact type. And so it's now present. So next time somebody calls for something similar, it goes back based on all of the past history that AI does feeding on itself. And it too will reference the same code, the same library, which now exists because the scammer set it up. And now they can poison the supply chain through slop squatting. So it's like typo squatting, but they're creating AI slop. The malicious actor comes in behind it, sets up some slop in place of that particular called reference that wasn't there, and now there's malware for the next time the AI does the exact same thing, which reference says it will do, and now we'll get the now the malware is going to be distributed. So excellent, brilliant way there. Wonderful application of utilizing AI hallucinations to poison the supply chain a little bit more. That's quite exciting. And with that, we're going to move on over to AI news next. And first up in AI news, we're like checking all the boxes. If this is your first time here, you're thinking I'm some like left-wing person. Meanwhile, the guys on the left are always criticizing me for being a right-wing person. I'm actually fairly in the center, leaning towards the right. So when I see stuff like this, now I have to call out Elon Musk. You see, I've been beaten on the right wing tonight. That's good. They needed a couple. Every now and again, they need it from people who are generally in agreement with them. Okay. Grok, stop. Grok is going to start remembering everything you do. Remember, like Microsoft did this and ChatGPT is doing this. I can't remember if we covered a Facebook article doing it. I can't remember if Llama was doing it. Probably is. But now Grok is going to start remembering everything that you ask it to do. So all of these systems, Grok is just the latest of these nonsense where every conversation you have, it remembers who you are. And so the idea is the more you interact with Grok, the more it knows you on a personal level. And don't worry, the evil Elon has access to all that now. See, he's building his psych profiles to sell all this information over to the company with selling ads to the LGTVs. That's all a conspiracy. It's a conspiracy. I need like a conspiracy wall behind me, don't I? Anyway, but yeah, Grok is going to start remembering your conversations as part of a broader slate of updates rolling out, which seeks to match ChatGPT, Google's Gemini, and of course we talked about Microsoft's Copilot as well last week, I think. Elon Musk company tends to pitch Grok as a plucky upstart in a world of staid AI tools, seems to be aiming for parity on features like memory, voice, and image editing. Now, the reality is all of them are doing all the same stuff. So it's like, don't read too much more into it than they're all trying to be the exact same thing. You know, one guy creates one thing and everybody wants to duplicate it. There is no more variety anymore. They've been systematically destroying variety. I was talking last night about my chair, right? My chair is starting to fall apart. Fortunately, my friend actually had a good working one in the basement. So I acquired a chair from my friend's basement here. But I was saying, you know, I've been looking around to replace the chair that I got that's been falling apart, but I can't find that style anymore because one guy did a rocking chair version and now everybody's doing a rocking chair version. So I have 16 brand names of the exact same thing. It's like, really? Stop. Look at the coffee stuff. Back years ago, I could go into nearly any grocery store and get a dozen or two varieties of coffee flavors. And now we're down to just the boring mocha, hazelnut, and French vanilla. And that is about it. Wegmans is the only large chain I know of where I can go in and get good flavored coffee. Interesting. But everybody's just trying to copy everybody else. That's how the world is working. Everybody is trying to copy everybody else. And Grok is doing the same thing. So now if you're using Grok, it's going to remember you over time. It's going to get to know you. It's going to be your friend. And then pretty soon it's going to use that information against you, because that is what they're trying to do. Next up in AI, Meta is slurping up EU user data for AI training. This is an opt-out if you are in the EU. European, basically they say they were going to start doing this. There's a little bit of a pushback. Ultimately, it's determined that, yes, they can do this, but they have to give people the option to opt out. So if you are in the EU or somewhere in that general vicinity, then you will see a notification on your Facebook dashboard, and you should receive an email as well with a way to opt out. If you have already opted out to this type of stuff, then they will honor that opt out, because they had to go back and go through the courts again a little bit. So if you've already done that once, you're good, but keep an eye out for that banner or that email if you still happen to use Meta products, Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp. If you do not opt out, they are going to start using all of your private data to train their AI. Because, you know, we got to get rid of everything that's distinctual and personal and private to you. Come on, guys. All right, that is what they are up to. And the final one in AI news, the EU now bans AI agents. So if you remember, we talked about this. I can't remember if it was the news or a Microsoft video, but when you're using Microsoft Teams, now they want to throw an AI agent in there, and the AI agent is sitting there and watching and assigning tasks and probably being a snitch for Microsoft and or the three letters. We just don't know exactly what it's doing in there, but it simply shows up. In fact, I was in a Teams meeting the other day, and the person starting it, unfortunately, I'm not in control of this meeting. I'm just a participant. So they started up, and I jump in there, and there's this extra person there, and the person organizing meetings. So I'm trying to get rid of this person. What is this? Like, oh yes, it's the Microsoft's AI bot. So when you create the Teams meeting, Microsoft's AI bot is sitting there watching and analyzing everything. So we had to kick the thing out of the meeting. So what the EU basically came down and said is, no, we're not going to allow it. Now, I thought was this government? It appears no. Like, AI agents are not allowed in web meetings. That's what their take is. It's not like on government systems. It's no, not at all. Period. Done. Now, what they state, they say that the fact that the thing's over there and analyzing tasks is not the big deal. They said the big deal is all of these are proprietary blobs that are listening in, and nobody knows exactly what they're doing. And so, let's see, AI agents perform multitask. So Salesforce uses AI agents to call sales leads. Great, that's all I need. AI robots now calling us all is sales leads. Can you imagine that world, guys? Your phone never stops ringing. If you let your phone number slip to one place, it's going to end up on a list, and the AI bots are going to be fighting over which one can get your phone to ring. Ring, ring. Your phone's going to be ringing constantly. It's an AI bot for Salesforce trying to call you. My Lord. And so the issue that they had here is that we just don't know what to do, what they're actually doing. Let's see if I can find the section here. AI note takers and other agents are not inherently a security threat, according to 2025 report from global AI experts. The security risk stems from the user being unaware of what their AI agents are doing, their inability to operate outside the user's control, and the potential AI to AI interactions. That's all we need. We need the mark of the beast AI Satan bot interacting with all of the recall bots to determine exactly who is where, and so they can execute their master plan. Okay, I'm getting tinfoil hatty here, and my apologies. I just finished that giant year-and-a-half study of the book of Ezekiel. I got weird Antichrist stuff on my mind. Anyway, moving on though, tech companies do have to be cautious when promoting products that can accomplish an increasing amount without the user's awareness. One of the biggest cautionary tales is that of Microsoft Recall, an AI tool that allowed users to control their PCs or search through files using natural language. The convenience came at a cost. Recalls captured the screenshots of active windows every few seconds, saving them to a timeline, raising concerns about privacy and data usage. Of course, there were a ton of security issues with that. And so there were a lot of problems with it. And so because of that, they kind of came out and said, yeah, we just don't really want any of that over on our system. Well, if you want to help support the channel, we do use affiliates, and today we are highlighting A2 Hosting, and apparently I need to do cookie stuff over here as well. There you go. So if you need a website and you need some web hosting, consider A2 Hosting, tlm.li/A2H. And you can sign up over here. You can get good discounts for your first, I think you can get up to 36 months on some of these. So you can actually get a really good price for the first few years. Now, we'll go up to a little bit of a higher price, but their service is actually good and worth it. They have good services. They have free SSLs. They actually have support staff that answers the phones, and you can understand them, and that's always a bonus for me. I use them until my business and hosting just got too big for them, but this is still what I point most of my clients to on when they're just wanting their own hosting systems. So A2 Hosting, have a look at them. That will help support the channel and give you a great deal. tlm.li/A2H. And with that, let's head on over to business news next. First up in business news, Google suspended 39.2 million malicious advertisers in 2024 thanks to AI. So we finally have a good use of AI. It got rid of several of those malvertising scammers. Unfortunately, it didn't even put a drop in the bucket, but that's at least a step in the right direction. At least if Google's going to force us to turn off our ad blockers to use all of their services, the least they can do is make sure the malware scammers and Trojan distributors are off of their network, but they still haven't succeeded at that. They just kind of helped. Now, if only they can get Facebook in on this to get the Facebook guys to use AI to ban all of the Facebook fake support scammers trying to tell everybody, you need to connect with us because we saw a violation. We're going to take down. Literally, they're copying and pasting the same thing over on Facebook inside their messages, and Facebook can't figure this out. I don't know. Anyway, Google may have finally found an application of large language models that even AI skeptics can get behind. True, I get behind it. Use your AI to get them off. The unfortunate thing is they're going to kick off a whole lot of they're going to have a whole lot of false positives. Like I talked about, I'm still not going to reveal the exact name of the company I'm using, but I switched away from PayPal for my business invoicing. I just got completely sick of it. Middle of January, things were already falling apart, and PayPal's like locking me out of accounts again, and I need to call them on the phone. It's like, okay, I'm done with this. Well, the company I'm working with now, they flagged one transaction. I think they flagged the transaction because the customer changed the phone numbers on their accounts. I think that's probably what flagged it. So we're going to kind of let it go, but they're like, hey, trust and safety team, we need to know more about this transaction. They guys even wanted me to like send in a copy of the contract I have with them. It's like, that's none of your business, you know? No. I said, hey, you can go ahead and call the guy if you want. You know, they're like, what's his name? What's his number? All this kind of stuff. So I did that, but then I text the client who happens to be a friend of mine. I said, when they call you, treat them harshly. I'm not going to be a jerk to them, but man, they're going to annoy my clients who don't like this type of nonsense as it is. Oh, and that friend got a mouth if he wants it. It's awesome. I feel like I kind of sent a little chicken into a wolf's den. I don't know. But anyway, hopefully the trust and safety moron has survived. But that's the problem, is all these guys are all these false positives, and then they literally treat you like you're a scamming criminal. It's like, dude, don't you have better things to do? Questioning my $120 invoice, which is the second invoice the exact same guy did on the exact same time with the exact same card. Really? So I don't know. But anyway, I'm probably going to let that one slide. Let's see what happens with that. But that's the problem with utilizing AI systems, is it pulls in a whole lot of these false positives as well. So while the malvertisers are getting on and just completely running rampant all over your site, you are going to wipe out a whole lot of legitimate accounts in the process. And some of these are small businesses that unfortunately need to plug their nose and give money to Google, and they hate it, but they have to survive. And that's kind of the problem I see with this. They create a giant problem. They can't even deal with the giant problem. And then they deploy AI, which will end up wiping out a lot of other ones. I didn't see anything in the article about any false positives they found, but I'm assuming there's probably a lot. But hey, they did say they took down close to 40 million malvertisers, and they did get a lot of them before they even pushed up one ad, which is good. So if you're unfamiliar with the malvertising, this is where the hacker creates an ad for a legitimate service. So like KeyPass.info is a legitimate service here. So they take out this ad, and the problem with Google Ads is what's displayed right here where it says keypass.info. This does not match what the actual URL is in. You can type whatever you want on this. It's just a display field in Google. And then you can put an entirely different website over here. And so somebody goes in and you hear that KeyPass XC is awesome because you watch Switch to Linux, and then you type in KeyPass. Now, first, KeyPass and KeyPass XC are two separate programs. I would use KeyPass XC. It is a lot more, it's a fork of it that's had a lot more progress. But KeyPass.info is still legit. Someone types in KeyPass, and then the first link over here, oh, KeyPass, there it is. And you click the first link, and it's an ad. But it's hard to tell it's an ad. It just has this big sponsored. Otherwise, it looks the same. You click on this, and it doesn't take you to keypass.info. It takes you to a malvertising site that has just infected your computer, simply clicking on this. This is a horrible, like, why does Google allow this to happen? Now, this is where some of them are getting around this by using like Google Pages and things to host pages that almost on the surface look like they're good. And they even have legitimate security protocols, but they're using those as well. So this is what Google's doing, is working on this. But don't have too many of good feelings towards Google, because it was ruled as an illegal advertising monopoly. Now, they were charged on three different things, and they came down and said they're only a monopoly on two of those. So the one that was dismissed was the double click. So the double click is just that's the kind of the name of the company that they use to distribute all of the ads. That's kind of what they're doing. Now, there's a number of different ad distributor systems, and that'll just, whichever one you do, just kind of determines where your ads are. So it's like that. And there's other options in there. Now, where they were found illegal is that Google has a lot of services that compete with other services. And so the problem is if they had a service, a good example is Rumble. In fact, it wouldn't surprise me if the current ongoing Rumble cases was part of this, because what Rumble said is, hey, we are trying to do an online video platform, but if you search for online video platforms, Google always puts YouTube above Rumble. So they're tweaking their search algorithms to always put their own products and services above competing products and services. And for that, the judge says, yeah, that's kind of an illegal monopoly. Now, of course, if you're not using Google, you may or may not get those same results. Of course, if you're using Startpage, you will, because they're using a proxy filtered Google. If you're using Brave or Bing or DuckDuckGo, you might not get them. It just kind of depends on what type of video you get. But Google will always show a YouTube video of a similar title than a Rumble video, if Rumble videos are even showed at all. And that's really what the system boiled down to, is are these advertising that they're doing hurting other services? And the court said yes, if it's a competing service, and Google always puts its own service above. And so what the prospect they might do here is force Google to spin off several of these other industries. So that is kind of what they are doing. And on the last in the business news here is Synology requires self-branded drives for some consumer NAS systems. So you already have a NAS system. Now, in reality, this one's not as inclined to piss off Louis Rossmann, because they're not changing your system that's already in place. But they're not allowing you to create new hard drives. You cannot expand your Synology NAS with new hard drives that are not Synology branded hard drives. Now, does Synology make hard drives? No. They're going to be contracting with one of the big companies and slapping their logo on it, and then probably adding some extra money, and then they're adding some DRM into the firmware. Now, we can hope they're probably not doing the Seagate, which had this sudden failure rates all of a sudden out of absolutely nowhere. And I'm wondering if that's what happened to my NAS drive. Of course, you can't see that, but it's a Seagate drive. Yes, the NAS drive that I had that suddenly for inexplicably stopped working is a Seagate. I wonder. And I was going to go with Seagate to avoid the potential issues of Western Digital. Serves me right. I'm using Samsung now. Hopefully that's better. All right. But what they're saying here is Synology's new Plus series. Now, this isn't the basic level simple consumer ones. These are the business and enterprise or the pro versions. So there are several features inside of here that they are changing the firmware of the Synology, that if you want to use those advanced features, then you must be using special DRM encrypted hard drives. Now, as they say in the article down here, thanks Tom's Hardware, so saying the article down here, few companies make hard drives. Synology is not one of them. So what they're doing is they're going to be using one of these distributors, Seagate, Toshiba, Western Digital. They're probably going to pick at least one of those, slap on DRM and a Synology sticker, and probably jack up the price a whole lot. Is this a money grab? Is this a DRM grab? Is this a control? Is this, we're going to put black box firmware on your device that you don't really know what it's doing because the NSA would like to know what's on your drive? We don't really know. It's a black box. This is why I'd recommend using the Open Media Vault, and there's a few other good open source options out there as well. So that is kind of what I have in mind there. So that is yikes, DRM and our HDDs. Isn't that wonderful? With that, guys, let's go on over to your favorite place and mine. Let's go to SillyVille. And first up, we had to cover this particular one here simply because it involves a penguin. An unsecured penguin crashes a South African helicopter. What? That's right, folks. South African R-44 crashed during liftoff after an unsecured penguin fell on the controls. What? That's right. So this is a research team, and the research team is down here doing something. Was it the Easter Islands? Eastern Cape. There you go. So the chopper flowed to Bird Island off the Eastern Cape in order for a specialist to carry out an aerial survey. After the survey was completed, they landed on the island, and the specialist requested the transport of a penguin back to Port Elizabeth's airport because the penguin looked a little sick. So they put the penguin in this box. Great, awesome. Now we have a penguin in a box and a helicopter. The problem is they didn't properly secure the box, and the penguin got out and caused ruckus all throughout the helicopter, and apparently jumped over, landed on the cyclic pitch controller, and the helicopter landed on its side and crashed and burned. Everybody survived. The penguin even survived. Isn't that wonderful? But now we have a whole crew marooned on a Forbidden Island, I guess, with a crazy penguin that likes crashing helicopters. So cue the penguins of Madagascar. There you go, folks. Just a friendly note. If you happen to be transporting penguins in your helicopter, please secure them tightly so that they do not crash your ride. Microsoft, God, they go brain dead. A few months ago, we covered Bill Gates lost his ever-loving mind. He wanted to chop down a bunch of forests and then bury the wood in the desert to capture the carbon. Like, not chop down the forest, sell the lumber to boost the housing market, reduce the price of wood. No. Chop down perfectly good forest, which I'm not sure if Bill Gates is aware of this, but trees take carbon dioxide out of the air. He was going to chop down all of these trees with all that diesel equipment, by the way, and bury the trees in the Arizona deserts to trap the carbon so the carbon could never make it to the atmosphere. This is a sign of a sick man. He should be removed from all public life, probably stripped of his assets, and put in an insane asylum. But Microsoft says, hold a beer, yo, watch this. Microsoft now signs a new major carbon removal deal to try and help minimize the environmental impact even further. They want to be carbon negative by 2030. So they will purchase 3.685 million tons of carbon removal credits over 12 years. What are they going to be doing? They're going to be capturing pulp and paper milling stations and then permanently storing it in saline aquifers. Call me crazy. I think God put the saline aquifers there for some purpose. Let's not just throw a whole bunch of paper and chemical waste down there in order to, quote unquote, trap the carbon. Why don't you, Bill, plant a few trees, and then the trees will grow up and suck carbon out of the atmosphere. If only the creator of the world created something that would scrub CO2 out of the air. I got a grand idea. Let's take a bunch of this stuff. Instead of using it for something useful, we're just going to bury it in salt pits somewhere. Awesome, man. We're going to save the planet. Now, the salt pits will never be the same. All of the ecological impact caused, we don't know. We don't really care. I mean, they may as well chop down a bunch of Amazonian rainforest in order to build a freeway to get to a climate summit. Oh, they did that too. These people are nuts. There. Have I demonstrated myself now an equal opportunity offender? Now I can say I'm a right-wing hack, I'm a left-wing hack, and I'm a climate denier. Hey, I even caused disparity on the vaccination stuff, too. I think I did that in the comments, though. I can't remember. But anyway. A major Google cloud outage was caused by uninterruptible power supplies being interrupted. Yep. It happened, folks. We have an uninterrupted power supply that gets interrupted. The end is nigh. So this was in Columbus, Ohio region data center for Google. So anything that required Google services running in and out of there, this was down for 6 hours and 10 minutes on March 29th. They blamed the loss of a utility power in the affected zone. And the problem is that there was a battery misconfiguration in the UPS system. So the uninterruptible power supply system responsible for maintaining the power in these zones during such events, that was messed up. And so the uninterruptible power got interrupted and the data center went down like the carbon levels with Microsoft, I guess. I don't know. So that's, yeah, interesting, folks. Now, of course, we have to talk about the Taxman Cometh. The IRS scheduled maintenance of their payment system on tax day. Said the payment was still due regardless. All right. Planned outage, April 15th, 2025. Now, to be the fairest to the IRS, this starts at 11:45 p.m. on EST. Now, I get people like waiting until the last possible minute. If you're waiting until 11:45 p.m. on April 15th to pay your taxes, buy a planner, folks. Plan ahead a little bit. Now, I am going to throw a few other things out here as a business owner who unfortunately has to do like those quarterly things. And I think if we want the best way to clean up the IRS and the tax code in the country, we need to simply abolish W-2 withholdings. If every single worker had to get their full check and then once a quarter write a check to the IRS out of that money that they get, they would be infinitely more concerned about what that money is being spent on. Maybe they would seriously object to the government spending $10,000 or was it $100,000, $100 million? It was a lot of money to figure out if Thanos can snap his fingers in metal gloves. Yes, they use our tax dollars to determine if Thanos could actually snap his gloves with his fingers with metal gloves on. Our tax dollars went to that. On top of, feeding up a bunch of cocaine to rats and a bunch of other nonsense type of stuff. So that's kind of why we're all concerned and why many of us really actually kind of like what Doja's doing, trying to figure out the government waste. There we go. I just pissed off the last group of people I haven't pissed off yet. Awesome. Good. All right. So seriously, on tax day, many things, they come down. There you go. Now, I will note this. You do not have to pay your taxes by April 15th. You have to file your taxes by April 15th. This is the payment system, not the tax filing system. You do not incur any fees or late fees on a late payment until they process the taxes. And even that, it's after a period of time. So what I used to do when I was making a little bit less money, and sometimes it's like eat, pay taxes, let's eat. What I would do is I would file the taxes on April 15th, and then I would wait for them to reply back to say, hey, there's an underpayment. Because as long as you pay within 30 days of that notice, there is no late penalty. And so in light of that, I would buy myself a few extra months of paying the taxes that were due, even though I filed on time. So as long as you're filing on time, you're good. You can work out the payments later. Now, it's always better, of course, to pay in advance or on the day, obviously, but this is not as big of a deal as it says it is, but it is still hilarious that the government would do scheduled maintenance on tax day. That is still funny. But just indicating that this isn't as big of a deal as some people think. But that being said, okay. So if you run into that issue, just log in the following morning and pay your taxes in the morning. You're fine. You'll be fine. All right. And you should not have any extra penalty for that. All right. Well, if you want to help support the channel, we do have a locals page, switchedtolinux.locals.com. You can jump on over there, help support with any amount. You can also do single time support as well over there. And that is a great place to help support the channel. With that, guys, thank you for watching, and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux.